Welcome to Grief Matters, a podcast that features conversations about life and death. Hosted by Lori Opitz, Director of Bereavement at the Joseph T. Quinlan Bereavement Center, no subject is off limits and no topic is taboo. Please submit your questions about anything end of life, dying, death, and grief to KarenAnnQuinlanHospice.org/Grief Matters.
Hello, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about grief support groups and whether it's a good idea for you or not. The benefits of support groups are widely known and well documented, but grief support groups are a different animal and they're a little more tricky to negotiate because of the fact that we're grieving. And we know that when we're missing someone profoundly, we're not on top of our game. We're unfocused, can't pay attention, more irritable, and maybe not as well rested. We feel exhausted. So, going to a grief support group may feel very overwhelming to us. It may be walking into a room with a bunch of strangers is just not something we're capable of doing at this point in time. Also, if you are the kind of personality that soaks up everybody's feelings, sitting in a room with a lot of people who are brokenhearted and listening to their stories may not help you at all. You may leave feeling worse than when you got there, and you may feel like you're carrying the weight of the world and the sorrow of the world on your own shoulders. That is not something that you need. Your own grief is heavy enough. You don't need to be carrying everybody else's pain. Also, it might feel discouraging if you attend a grief support group thinking that you're going to get all the answers on how to get over this. I'll just go to a group or two and listen to everybody, and they're going to tell me what I need to do to get over this pain, to get over this missing them. And it will be very disappointing to you to learn that grief doesn't end because love doesn't end. And we don't stop missing someone when their body dies. We learn how to accommodate the grief into who we are and who we become as we move forward. Also, with every group, there are dynamics. And the group dynamics might be too much for you at this point in time. You know, there's going to be a monopolizer, there's going to be someone there that talks too much, there's going to be someone there that gets on your nerves, and you just might be too uncomfortable or too tired to tolerate a group with dynamics. And there's also, in a generalized loss group, the fact that you might have lost a child and you're in a group that has more spousal loss or parental loss. And you could be put in a situation where you're listening to someone whose 100-year-old mother died after you've just buried your child, and you might just want to jump out of your skin because you can't listen to that. It's not helpful to you at this point in time, and that would be okay and normal. A generalized loss support group is very difficult for different populations, particularly parents who've lost children, and it might benefit you to find a specialized loss group. On the other side, the benefit of attending a grief support group is that it definitely eases your sense of isolation and loneliness. You walk into a room filled with like minded people who are caring about you. They are not going to get tired of listening to your story because a lot of times in our own support system, in our own families, we feel like we're now a burden on them and they don't want to hear about this anymore. When you go to a support group, you can tell your story and talk about your feelings all you need to, as many times as you need to, and everybody there understands. We also get the hope that although grief isn't going to end, that we will find meaning and pleasure again. And some people keep coming to group to give back to the group and to let the newcomers know that there is hope and there is healing and there is meaning and pleasure to be had again. We also get a lot of psychoeducational information at a support group. We know what's normal in grief. We learn and talk about coping styles and coping strategies, what's helpful and what's not. And you listen to people who will talk about what they tried and what worked for them or what didn't work for them. And it may give you new ideas and new information that you might have not thought about. For instance, taking a vacation soon after a loss. You may be thinking, like, I just need to get away. I need to just get out of town and it's going to help me heal faster. And you may go to the group and listen to somebody who tried that and found that they carried their grief and their sadness and their tired, exhausted feelings right onto that cruise ship. And they felt guilty for being there. They felt like they didn't deserve to have pleasure, and it was too soon for them to have tried to take that trip. And so you might get information to say, I never thought about that. And I think maybe I'll wait before I plan some excursion like that. So support groups can give us ideas on what to do and what not to do. And it's always helpful to hear things that other people try that we might not have thought would be helpful, but is. So keep an open mind. And if you are grieving, give it some thought on whether you think that it would be a good thing for you or not. In summary, if you soak up other people's feelings like a sponge or are feeling very irritable and not feeling in a place to be non-judgmental and non-critical and don't think you can deal with the dynamics of a group, I would say you would benefit more from a one-on-one situation, talking privately to someone. But if you are lonely and need to talk about your grief and feel isolated, grief support group will give you a sense of belonging instantly, and you'll be with like-minded people who understand and care. As always, thank you for listening because grief matters.
If you would like more information on any grief or bereavement issues, including options for counseling, please feel free to call us at the Joseph T. Quinlan Bereavement Center at 973-948-2283, or you can contact us online at copewithgrief.org. Please remember to subscribe to the Grief Matters podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.